That's Ackward's Clown World. The sound of one bong snapping. Listen for the sound of one bong snapping. What was your face before you were born? What was your face before you were born? The sound of one hand slapping your face before you were born? How can you do that? It's not possible. They say that no matter is created or destroyed. But I think that sounds like bullshit to me because there was a time when I was just a wee sperm and it hadn't entered the wee egg and it was just a little teeny thing. And so I hadn't really, become what I am now or what I will become, which is like, back to the earth, back into the earth, and my soul will wander into the environment. There's nowhere else for it to go. But the point is, before that little sperm came along, just a wee little microscopic thing, none of this stuff that I'm going to become, part of the earth with, this decay that will eventually, you know, dust to dust or whatever. It's not gone. No, that material is part of the earth now, and prior to that, it was just a wee sperm. So my point being, you kind of did create some matter there. I mean, you're like that adds up exponentially. I mean, how many people have gone into the ground, and it's like, for what it's worth. I mean, dude, it's like we're creating matter when we have people. And then what about a tree that drops a seed and it's a little teeny wee seed and then it turns into a big massive fucking tree? And then it drops wee seeds and those seeds turn into trees. How can you say there's no matter created? I mean, that's all that's happening. It's like it's a lot bigger than it was when it started. So it's like that shit adds up, man. I mean, what do they mean? Like you can't just pull matter out of thin air? Well, yeah, duh. That's kind of a no-brainer, But like as far as creating matter, yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, get it on, boy. Or just like when a tree drops the seed, that seed doesn't take up much space on the face of the earth, but then eventually that seed will turn into a big fat tree, and then it'll drop seeds that'll turn into trees, and so matter is being created constantly, growing into its full form to to procreate and drop offspring and just spread the seed. So matter is always being created. As far as whether it's destroyed or not, well, that's kind of a different question because it just changes states of matter. But originally it was just not even what it became. And so it's like it wasn't something that took up, it was just potential matter, but it wasn't. So there is like a growing pile of waste. I think it's just cities all the way down. Like we just have cities on top of cities on top of cities, and all the people that lived in them are all buried in the mix. It just stacks up. Like we were the first people that settled here. Come on, you know how many fucking I mean, it's just like cities all the way down. Cities, old cities that have just been mud flooded and compacted and built on top of, and mud flooded and compacted and built on top of, and mud flooded. And it just goes on and on, all the way down. So many times the place gets reset and the whole history of everything that had happened just gets wiped out. Sometimes not even nefariously, it's just like, or it doesn't get hidden or whatever. It just happens, and the few people that survived, didn't have the means to be able to like carry on the story. And like for what it's worth, I mean, even the times when we did have the ability to carry on, the story didn't quite make it to the masses. I mean, there's clearly a lot of information missing as to like what the hell is really going on right now. But all I know in my little town right here, there's a brick building. It's called the Kenyatta Building, and it's built in the 1800s by some Spanish dude, right? And I read the history on it because I was curious because I did a little bit of research on it, like little boots on the ground type shit. And it's like, it was built in 1880, whatever, by a man named blah, 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 blah. And, he told some little anecdotal bullshit about it. But he said he built a 2-story brick building in Los Gatos, right downtown where it's at right now. And then he sold it to so-and-so and then bailed, and that was the last I ever heard of him. But then it's like, so that he built this 2-story brick building in town, Los Gatos. It's called the Cañada Building. It's a classic, it's a brick building, and it's just like a piece of history. Everyone, oh, the Cañada Building, it's cool. It's got the little cone. It's on the corner, and it's got the little, like, what do they call those? Parapets, or I don't know. There's like a little cone, little semicircle, like, corner. I forget what they're called right now, but it's just a classic old brick building, which is why I went and looked at it a little bit closer, and I noticed that it's not a 2-story brick building. I noticed that the history is wrong because the bricks keep going below the street. I know this because, well, first of all, we noticed in the back of the building, there's little arches above the windows, and the brick pattern is all pretty standard, but then there's little arches above the windows where the brick pattern changes, And so it's like, that's a signature thing you can look for. So you're looking at the building, there's no variations except for above the windows where the bricks change their pattern, and it's a little arch. Okay, well, in the back of the building, we noticed one day that those little arches above the windows are down, like right up behind the building. There's little arches that are like, right there on the sidewalk level. Like, you can't see below the arch, but it's clearly little arches. There's 2 of them that I found. I'm like, that looks like those little arches that they put above the windows, but you can't see below the arch. So it's like, well, was there a window below the the floor here, or what? Why would they do that? Of course, I'm wise to the mud flood topic, but still, I'm just kind of playing dumb. I'm like, why is there arches on the ground? Does the building keep going? And I'm like, So I was doing some investigating. We were looking around the building, and I noticed where they put the sidewalk in on the side of the building. It clearly came after the building because they cut into the brick building on the ground level, and you can see where they cut the bricks go past where the sidewalk is sort of. It's kind of hard to explain, but the sidewalk comes into the building a little bit, but the bricks keep going past the sidewalk. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, at this point, I'm sniffing it out. I'm like, this isn't just a 2-story brick building. And I look in the gutters right there, the little drains that they have where the water flows down from the gutter. And if you shine a flashlight down there, you can see where the bricks keep going below the street level. Keep going for a ways. And then I saw a window, I saw the full window with the arch and the empty, where the spot where the glass would have been. And it's below the street level. And I could see it in the gutter drain there. It's all bricked up closed, but it's like, there's a window below the street level. And there's bricks that go down below further than where I could see. So I'm like, well, it's not just a 2-story building, because the 2 stories are visible. But then there's a third that goes below the street level. You don't make a foundation out of bricks, and you don't put a window in your foundation. So that's just, you can't make that excuse for this. Oh, it's just a brick foundation. No, it is. Nobody makes brick foundations. And besides, you don't put a window in your foundation. And then I looked in the other gutter drain, maybe 10 feet that way, and I fucking saw another window below the street level. So I've spotted 2 actual windows that I can see below street level, which totally fucking ruins the historical account of that building. They say it's a 2-story brick building, but it's a 3-story brick building. Just 1 story is buried below street level. I haven't talked to the owners yet, but I'd imagine they'd have to know. If you buy a brick building, it's like a nice building in town where you're going to have businesses and stuff, and I'd imagine you'd be asking if there's a basement, or maybe they know there's a basement, but they're not why can't they update the historical, account of the building? It's like, well, it's probably because it's bullshit. The story is probably bullshit. I don't know. I mean, why would they say the wrong thing? I want to see the blueprints. I want to know if anybody else is aware that it's even, I want to know if I'm the only guy that knows that it's a 3-story brick building. But you don't have to even think about it. You just look at it. You just have to look in the drain, and then you see that the bricks go below the street level. What's interesting about that is across the street from there, there's another, a kind of a newer looking building, but it's a complex. There's like a whole bunch of businesses in a big square. But it's like in the middle of that big square, there's a sunken level that goes below street level, like a whole floor